Hello and welcome to an Insurance Times Q&A with James Burns, who is sat next to me. Thank you very much for having us, James. We're going to be speaking about the Cyber Monitoring Centre launched in January 2024. The thinking behind the Cyber Monitoring Centre is that with the increase in cyber attacks that the industry and society at large has been seeing, there is no way to categorise them as of yet. With an earthquake and with flood, there is magnitude, there is flood depth. With a cyber attack, there is no such thing until you create it. So, here to talk to me about that is James Byrne, Head of Cyber Strategy at CFC. James, could you please give me the quick headlines about what the CMC is looking to do?
Yeah, so the Cyber Monitoring Centre is being set up to consistently classify UK cyber events. These events threaten society, the economy more now than at any point in history, yet we still don't have a consistent classification system for dealing with them. And you contrast that to the world of natural perils, where, quake, flood, wind, all threats that businesses and organizations face today, but they have classification systems which are really, really simple and designed for everyone to understand exactly what is going on. They're designed so that the seriousness of any given event can be conveyed quickly and easily. And the Cyber Monitoring Centre is being set up as an attempt to do the same thing for the digital world. We need to be able to convey the seriousness of any given cyber event quickly and easily and in a way that everybody understands. And that's what the Cyber Monitoring Centre is being set up to do.
So, zooming out slightly for the rest of our audience, why is it that they should be interested in the launch of the Cyber Monitoring Centre?
Well, I think systemic risk is something which has always been a challenge for the insurance industry. So I think efforts to tackle systemic risk, whichever given line of insurance that is, should be supported and to the benefit of the broader industry. You look at something like the COVID-19 pandemic, which we had recently, huge systemic event which had major implications for insurers, and the consequences of which are still being argued over in UK courts today. The fact that we're trying to address something like that early and before it becomes a major problem, I think is something that the broader market should hopefully see the benefit in.
So why is it that CFC are looking to create a industry-wide body of the CMC?
So I think it's really important for a couple of reasons. Firstly, there's a really important non-insurance use case here. We want to make sure that, as I mentioned at the start, there's a broader challenge for society around understanding cyber events. So it's important that the body is there not to serve the insurance market, but to be able to help that broader societal problem as well. So that means we need non-insurance market stakeholders involved. The insurance market use case is equally very important, I think, for the sustainability of the insurance market. And for that to be as successful as it possibly can, we want buy-in from as many different stakeholders as possible: brokers, insurers, reinsurers, and customers.
Great, so you've mentioned the industry-wide character of the CMC and how it needs to expand beyond the insurance industry as well. I mean, how is that being reflected in the makeup of the CMC?
So we're establishing the body as what's known as a CLG, so a company limited by guarantee, and it's similar setup to the sort of structure you see with charities and non-profits, for example, whereby there's no ownership, but you have members, but the body has a legal identity distinct from its membership base. And within the body, within that sort of corporate structure, people from non-insurance backgrounds. So we're talking about people from the realms of academia, the world of cybersecurity, backgrounds in public policy and similar subjects like that. And I think that's really important because given the potential for the body's decisions to be used as a mechanism for the insurance world, we want to make sure that the technical committee are not from the insurance world to make sure there's no sort of conflict that might arise.
Absolutely, and you talk about conflict of interest there as well. People will ask that CFC have put this CMC together with the panel as well, and what's in it for you?
We've been looking at this problem for a long time and been thinking about it from a number of angles. This challenge of systemic risk within the cyber market, and this is the best solution that we could think of to try and help solve the problem that we have, and that's the problem of systemic risk. The problem of systemic risk is a big enough problem that it's something that the market has no choice but to help solve. And obviously we're big players within the cyber insurance market, so it's not totally altruistic. We have a vested interest in making sure that this market functions in the long term. And that's really what we've tried to do here. We've tried to see ourselves as catalysts for a solution to a market-wide problem.
Great. So you've explained why CFC are looking to set up what is quite a needed product here, I think. What are you hoping that the impact of it will be in terms of the developing cyber market?
So we think there could be a big impact on cyber insurance policies and the way that cyber insurers structure their insurance policies. At the moment, the main way that insurers try to handle the challenge of systemic risk is through scenario-specific exclusions in the backs of policy. So a good example is the war exclusion and updated cyber war exclusions. That's a method that insurers use to try and protect themselves from systemic risk. Now, it's not necessarily war per se that they're worried about. It's the fact that that could give rise to a catastrophic style loss. What this model could provide, what the CMC could provide, is a replacement for that approach, because you could have insurers linking a single cyber catastrophe exclusion to a declaration made by the body. So you're simplifying the product. You're replacing a long and potentially growing lists of scenario-specific exclusions to a single cat exclusion tied to a declaration made by the body. That makes the product much simpler, which makes it easy to sell, which is obviously something which is potentially hugely beneficial to the market. You know, this product still isn't widely brought outside of the US. I mean, like 90% of organizations aren't buying a robust standalone cyber product. So it's something that's a real key concern, I think, for the supply side dynamics, I guess, in relation to the future of the market.
Absolutely, I can see how that would be the case as well. And in terms of impact, are you looking for the CMC to increase the uptake of cyber insurance policies?
So as I mentioned, the CMC itself won't be directly concerned with the insurance market at all. It's not there to serve the market. Actually, the use case stacks up completely independently of the existence of the market itself. But I think by definition, the work that it will be carrying out can be used as that mechanism that the market can perhaps require to address systemic risk. So a consequential effect of that should be a simpler product. It should be much clearer definitions around what cyber cat risk actually is, and that should solve a lot of problems in relation to the supply side as well. So, you know, cyber reinsurance capacity and third-party capital. So the CMC isn't there to help solve the problems of the market, but its very existence could help do so, if you see what I mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've talked about the things you're looking to achieve with the launch of this body. What I'm maybe interested in is where you would like the cyber industry to be in 5 years as a result of the launch of the CMC body.
So yeah, I guess ultimately we're looking for the body to bring transparency and clarity to what is currently a confusing and chaotic world. And that transparency and that clarity should feed into a much better way for the cyber insurance market to address systemic risk, which should prove to create a much more confident market that's able to reach its full potential. So I spoke earlier about the potential for this body or the way this body operates to be used as a mechanism in insurance policies for addressing systemic risk. Having much clearer and much more objective definitions for cyber cat risk can only be good for the market, because I think a large part of the challenge at the moment is in the ability for insurers and reinsurers to properly define cat risk, and that leads to a level of uncertainty, which in turn, potentially inhibits the growth of the market, as there's a lack of full comfort in relation to what all the exposures are. If we're able to minimize that uncertainty, even eliminate it to a certain extent, it should see the unlocking of much more reinsurance capacity, which could lead to the growing of a flourishing cyber reinsurance market, which in turn will support the long-term growth of the insurance market with a product that's much more broadly purchased, and with every stakeholder being much more confident that systemic risk is being properly addressed.
Absolutely. I think what that brings up to me is that the importance of the independence of the body, as you talk about.
Absolutely.
Because is it your view that perhaps these categorizations could be used in policy wordings to make sure that cyber policies are more accurately defined?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the same way that the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale, utilized by the National Hurricane Center to assign severity ratings to hurricanes, is used by the property cat market as triggers in insurance and reinsurance contracts for when cat risk is being addressed. You could see exactly the same model being applied or being adopted by the cyber insurance and reinsurance market, and it's that independence piece which allows you to have that clarity, because an independent body making a classification is very objective as a trigger and within contracts, and that's something that the market's lacking at the moment in relation to cybercat.
So something you've mentioned a couple of times in our chat is that you've drawn some inspiration from the categorization system for hurricanes. I mean, cyber attacks, hurricanes, similar but not entirely the same sort of thing. What lessons have you learned from the hurricane categorization system, and how have you applied those to the CMC body?
Yeah, so I mean, this is all about understanding and the ability to understand exactly what's happening in relation to any given major event, and it's the instigation for this whole project is the fact that cyber events are still so poorly defined and so poorly understood. You contrast that to the world of natural perils, things such as quake, wind, flood. And actually, they all have classification systems which were designed to make them easily understood. So you take something like the Saffir-Simpson scale, and it was developed exactly for that reason. It was developed so that it was easy to convey the seriousness of any given hurricane event. And that's where the inspiration really sort of came from, because we need a comparable system in the digital world for cyber events. Obviously, there are differences and there are limitations to the parallel with physical events such as hurricane. You have observable physical metrics such as wind speed, and same with quake. You can measure how hard the ground shakes, and you don't have that in the same way with the cyber world. But in many ways, that makes it almost more important that we have a classification system for cyber events, because the fact that they aren't physical, they're non-physical in nature, means that it can be almost more difficult to easily understand and study them. And that's a big part of the reason why I think we need to do this.
So what is clear from this conversation is that the Cyber Monitoring Centre that you are setting up, with the independent involvement that you have, could be revolutionary for the categorisation of cyber attacks. What is left to be seen is exactly how it develops. So thank you very much for speaking to me, James, and see you soon.
Thanks, Janice.